There's been a lot happening in the Delphi case.
There has.
Since Richard Allen got his attorneys back. And we haven't gone over it. We haven't really talked about it too terribly much. The other night on the True Crime Talk Show, we did talk about William Labrado, the defense attorney that stepped down. Him and Scremin stepped down because Richard Allen's original attorneys got reinstated. He did an interview with Barbara McDonald. If you don't know who Barbara McDonald is, she's a reporter who has been very invested in the Delphi case since very early on. She has a pretty good relationship with the families of the girls, Abby and Libby's families, and she's a good reporter. Like, she digs pretty deep. Like, she interviewed Ron Logan. She's the one who I believe he took her walking through the woods.
Okay.
And stuff. And
that was she's pretty good exclusive.
She's done a ton of good work on the Delphi case, and she got the exclusive with Labrado and interviewed him. And he came out and said some pretty incredible, mind-blowing things in that interview. He said he believes Richard Allen is 100% innocent. He was going to take a very similar path as Baldwin and Rosie are currently taking, and their whole Frank's memorandum alleging all this Odinist stuff. And he said the Odinist stuff is absolutely real and it's scary. And he talks about the prison guard, and the prison guard, after he was told to remove the patches, went and got a tattoo of a Volknot, which is a symbol, Odinist symbol. I using
on
the term on his face, like right here. And we have pictures of that actually. But I did want to mention, like, Odinist isn't actually like a term really used by people that believe in the old Nordic gods. Really, it's kind of a term that's being popularized because of this case. But I think it's not really a term that's actually used by people that believe in it. Just so you know, but I'm using
like
that
the
term.
Old ways beliefs, the ones that are not manipulating it to benefit a social belief system that has to do with race, sex, anything like that.
Yeah, like actual like people who are peaceful and believe in it because it's what they want to do.
They believe their gods are, including Odin, but not only Odin. It is the old gods. But yeah.
It's so I'm saying Odinist because that is the term everyone is familiar with, and
the social term.
Yep, it's what everyone's familiar with now associated with this case. So I don't. I saw like on Court TV and stuff, like somebody talking about that they had on as like an expert saying that, they kind of generalized the religion, like anyone believing in this is like, essentially a Nazi. And I just think that's kind of messed up to do to somebody's religion, because that's not true at all. There's plenty of people out there practicing it that are great, wonderful, peaceful, normal people. Okay. There is just just like in any religion, there is a certain group that is taking it and using it to their advantage, twisting it to fit their narrative for whatever they're trying to push, whatever hate they're trying to push, justify whatever disgusting thing they're trying to accomplish. And that's what's going on here, I believe. But anyway, again, he said he believes it is real and it's very scary. He talks about, again, his innocence and how they were going down that same path and they were going to file a Frank's motion with a memorandum. He said he would have done things a little bit different, but they were going to be following a similar path. But then at the end of the interview, after he says all of these things, and I'm like mind blown, I'm like, oh my gosh, no way did he just say all of that. He says he believes Judge Gull is the right judge for the case, and that he has argued in front of her for, multiple decades, and that, you know, she has a lot of experience and is the right judge and she will be fair. And I'm just thinking, I don't
Was this a
think
ploy?
so. Right. Was this all a ploy? Now I don't know how I feel about you, because literally, but right before you said that, I thought that was incredibly honorable. He never bashed the other attorneys. He did nothing but talk great about them. But I don't know how you can ignore the issues with Judge Gull.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be a reliable judge when you're breaking the law.
Which is what she's doing.
Yeah.
You know, I just, right before I hopped on here, I just came across on Sleuthy Goosey's Twitter emails between her and the clerk, and they sealed like Judge Gull literally had it's confusing. Honestly, I don't even understand it yet. But there's emails where she's asking and inquiring about a certain affidavit and is like, it should be public. And the clerk is apparently telling her that, well, the defense filed it as confidential. And Sleuthy's like, well, I know for a fact they didn't, because she has contacts and knows that they didn't do that. So she's trying to get a hold of it and she can't, because the clerk is claiming this. And it was actually the judge not allowing information out to the public again. And, you know, I'm not going to dig into that because, like I said, it was right before I hopped in here. So I don't know everything that's going on with that. So she says, redact affidavit that they previously had marked confidential for absolutely no reason. This must be fixed after I emailed the clerk, Judge Gull and Nick, to demand explanation for why it wasn't filed properly yet marked confidential. So, I mean, again, I'm not going to dig into all of it. I don't understand it yet. I haven't read through the affidavit and all of the emails, but it's just more evidence. Like, this is happening constantly. Like, every time there's a document out there that is clearly something Judge Gull doesn't want out there, it's removed. It's removed illegally.
Absurd.
Illegally. Not valid, not sealed, nothing. That's wrong.
It
I
is.
don't understand. I do not understand. So I don't know how you can be an honest defense attorney and, like, us be able to take you at your word and not think you have some ulterior motive by just saying Judge Gull is the right judge for the case when it's pretty clearly obvious she's biased. And I don't know how the Supreme Court left her on, but there's obviously things behind that we probably don't understand. There's politics within the justice system. Unfortunately, it's human nature. You know, it just is. We build these systems like this. But anyway, I did want to talk about how there is, so the defense, and this is filed January 28th of 2024, they put out a motion to disqualify for the judge. And they attached an affidavit explaining all of her transgressions and why they believe she's biased. Now, I did hear Bob Mata explain something that I found really interesting, and I'm not a lawyer, so I may not get it perfect, but of course, he's a great source for anything Delphi related right now when it comes to the court filings. He said that because they did this, and what's crazy to me is Judge Gull has to read this and then rule on it for herself. But when they file this, you know, to try to get her to recuse herself or disqualify herself from the case, that I think there's some standard, he said, that she has to give all the reasons why she could be biased. Legally, she has to do that.
Okay.
She has to explain the ways she could be biased and has to be honest about it.
I mean, honesty is a big word from what we're seeing right now.
I just couldn't believe that. I was like, no way. So she has to explain the way she could be biased to prove why she's not.
It
Essentially, to be like honest and have integrity and be transparent.
it sounds great and everything, but that's with the assumption that it's going to be honest.
Right.
So look, when you have time and time and time and time and time and time again as a judge not sided with the people that you're representing in your area and in the US, sorry, but I just don't have a lot of faith that it's going to be honest, and it's not going to be worded and presented in a way that best fits your career.
Agreed. So I'm just
Problematic.
gonna cite like the numbered parts and not go into the details so we can talk about it, because most of this we already know, if you've been following. But number 1 is Judge Gull interfered with Richard Allen's attorney-client relationship. 2 is Judge Gull publicly and on the record disparaged defendant Allen's chosen attorneys. Number 3, Judge Gull violated defendant Allen's due process rights. And that has to do with her removing the attorneys without a hearing and everything, with no evidence presented. Then number 4, Judge Gull engaged in critical stage proceedings in defendant's absence, which was removing his attorneys and everything. Number 5, Judge Gull failed to maintain impartiality and fairness. Judge Gull engaged in planned forced resignation of the defense team. Again, referenced defense counsel's pleadings that contained, in her words, inaccuracies and falsehoods. Judge Gull's belief that counsel would provide false pleadings to the court, thereby questioning their integrity, exhibits a rational inference of bias and prejudice. Yeah, for real. Number 6, Judge Gull demonstrated bias toward the prosecution. She favors the prosecution, clearly. That's what they're basically saying here. But in the days leading up to that hearing where she took the attorneys off the case, she participated in a phone conference to discuss matters with McClelland and the attorneys about the matters associated with the dissemination of crime scene photos. It was during the phone conference that McClelland first uttered the word disqualification. After very brief discussion, Judge Gull communicated to the parties that she at the moment was inclined to grant the request. So she was going to do it based off of McClelland's suggestion, is what they're saying.
Wild. That is absolutely so wild. And I just don't understand how we're letting this lose the focus of the victims here.
I don't get it either.
The absurdity of Judge Gull. I wanted to make a joke, but it would go too far.
I love this part. Number 7, Judge Gull made public misrepresentations on the record, and they cite her words she said in court, which is so funny. She said they say in pertinent part, Judge Gull spoke the following words. We've had an unexpected turn of events, ladies and gentlemen. Early this afternoon, the defense attorneys have withdrawn their representation of Mr. Allen. The court concluded the hearing by stating, clearly, this is outside of our control.
Good.
She did. Good. That's a straight up lie.
Yeah, she did.
Because it wasn't unexpected and it was within her control.
We actually cut that into one of our videos that we covered. So you can go back and watch them, you guys. But yeah, that statement she made there was so ridiculous.
Yep. Then number 8, Judge Gull engaged in ex parte communications. This is after they, I guess, were trying to be pro bono, but Judge Gull refused to allow them to carry it out.
That is bias right there. And remember, that's important, though, that everyone remembers, myself included. I tend to use the word bias when I'm trying to represent like a negative situation, but bias can also be unfairly positive, too.
Oh, listen to this. So However, Judge Gull, with the intentionality, refused to allow them to continue the representation. Okay. And this included communicating by text message to Judge Gull's chosen replacement attorneys, Scremin and Labrato, prior to the start of the hearing. This also included engaging in an in-chambers conference with said replacement attorneys and McLeland while Rozzi and Baldwin remained in the courtroom with their client.
What?
She was in her chambers with McLeland and the new attorneys while Baldwin and Rosie were out there with Alan in the courtroom. That's so messed up. After taking the bench, Judge Gull, on her own volition, severed the attorney-client relationship for a second time without seeking the opinion or permission from Richard Allen, the client. This sua sponte severance of the attorney-client relationship without the input or permission of Mr. Allen was prejudicial to his defense. Wow.
They have to come out and explain it too. Like, I think people need to realize that this isn't just an attack, right? They aren't just, it's not a tit for tat for them. She created a situation where their career and their character was in question because of the things that she was doing and saying. So the only logical outcome of this situation is for them to come back and explain that. Now, I can't say I don't because I don't know them personally, but I think based off of what I've seen, this is them just bringing honest feedback and sharing their expert opinion on what is going on. I don't think this is being done in an attempt to create a tit for tat situation.
No, I don't think they're trying to do that. I think that they genuinely want a fair trial for their client.
Absolutely.
And she ain't it. Number 9, Judge Gull denied defendant Allen his Sixth Amendment right to counsel, and in doing so, denied his right to a speedy trial. Agreed. Number 10.
The speedy trial manipulation tactics are
messed up.
I despise them. I think that the defense should have their time stopped on a speedy trial until they have 100% of the discovery
Agreed.
that the prosecution has. If the prosecution has it and is confirmed by someone like the judge, the defense must have that. Otherwise, time stops, in my opinion, because otherwise they've just manipulated speedy trial as yet again another tool for the prosecution.
Agreed. Number 10, Judge Gull changed her ruling in a prior order when attorneys Rosie and Baldwin were reinstated. So this is a good point. When they were reinstated, she came through and just denied all of their motions. What? All of them. She denied the Frank's motion.
Realize she changed it.
Oh yeah, because she said in a court, look, court notes
gosh,
too. Listen,
shows
this
bias.
I agree. This is evident from her November 1st order, wherein she offered up the following invitation. Court notes 2, pending motions, motion to suppress, motion for Frank's hearing, and will await a report from attorneys Scremin and Labrato and prosecuting attorney McLeland regarding hearing dates. So she literally offered a hearing date for the Frank's motion and motion to suppress for Labrato and Scremin. But then as soon as Rosie and Baldwin were back, she just denied all of them without a hearing.
That is really concerning. Like, oh man, I am terrified for people that live in this area. And it's real.
Look, here's another one. The minute entry reads as follows. If defendants' new counsel inform the court they intend to pursue the Frank's motion, the court will schedule a hearing. And she even added emphasis to will. They didn't underline and bold that. She did. I'm assuming that's what that means in quotes because it has in quotes emphasis added. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think so. Anyway, even if she didn't, it's regardless. It's what it clearly states is that she's going to give them a hearing. But then as soon as Rosie and Baldwin are back, she's like, yeah, nah, I'm not hearing any of your stuff.
then it makes me feel like
It's
more and more that those two attorneys are
onto something.
like a setup.
Oh, Scremin and Labrato agreed. Number 11, Judge Gull discredited defendant Allen's defense strategy. Judge Gull, having taken no action on defendant Allen's pleadings, invited successor counsel to either adopt those pleadings or make it their own. Yeah, I don't know. Implicit with Judge Gull's verbiage is what appears to be the court's attempt to empower her chosen replacements, Labrato and Scremin, to abandon a material aspect of Allen's defense strategy. It's kind of a good point. Number 12, Judge Gull committed violations of the Access to Court Records Act, which we've been talking about over and over and over. And they're including every single one, or at least the ones that they care about. Judge Gull did remove and seal or order to remove the defense pleadings from chronological case summary in violation of the Indiana Supreme Court's administrative rules, and they include like the Franks motion and memorandum and all kinds of things. Then number 13, Judge Gull engaged in additional violations of Access to Court Records Act. It says, noting attorney's withdrawal, Alibet forced from the case and struck from the record substantive pleadings filed by defendant Allen. So yeah, it's all the stuff we already know about. Then number 14, Judge Gull failed to address her administrative duties. That she apparently ignored communications when it came to paying them. That okay, so Baldwin submitted his first billing invoices on May 19th, 2023, and Baldwin's staff left several communications with Judge Gull's office concerning her failure to sign off on his payment, his paycheck.
Wow.
Months passed of her ignoring signing their paychecks.
That is so wrong.
Yeah.
Wow.
Number 15, Judge Gull failed to protect the accused. And I'm sure that it has to do with his incarceration in the prison system and not in a county jail. Number 16, Judge Gull continued and ongoing failure to protect the accused, which agreed. Number 17, she has treated the prosecution more favorably than the defense counsel.
Sure feels like it.
It sure does feel like it, especially her asking McClelland's opinion on things when it comes to the defense.
That is insane. That's absolutely bananas.
Yep.
Which proves the gross, honestly, it's just corruption, the gross corruption of this justice system in this area. It is not being led by the people. It is not a representation of the people. It is not with the best interest of the people and finding out if justice is being served and people are being proven guilty. It's so concerning. Again, it's another state. It makes me want to like drive around instead of driving through because there are such problems here.
Yeah. So basically what they're saying is that she didn't even have to read very far into the Franks memo to see that there were major issues with the state's case, and there were highly exculpatory documents created by Ferenczi, Click, and Murphy, the Odin report, and that all of the issues in the search warrant where they straight up lied to get the search warrant, and they're basically saying instead she focused on the defense and calling them grossly negligent, then calling out the state for their horrible lies.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so 10, 5, 6, 18. Judge Gull engaged in unacceptable extrajudicial activities, and they're talking about the Facebook post, which I have a picture of here. On July 9th, 2023, someone who is believed to be Judge Gull's then daughter-in-law published an entry on her own Facebook page stating the following, quote, "What an honor it was for the girls to play in the Abby and Libby Memorial Tournament. What a great honor it was that Abby and Libby's grandparents presented our girls with their championship finalist rings. In spite of being the presiding judge in this case at the time this message was posted, Judge Gull made a choice to publicly comment on the post with a simple congratulations. While this post may appear to be an innocuous comment, to Richard Allen's counsel, it raises fair question about whether or not a rational inference of bias or prejudice exists."
Yeah, I get it.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like
there's personal connection there.
That's a big deal.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. Again, you know, maybe she feels like she's making these decisions because she's in the right. We've talked about that an endless amount of times, that most people that are making mistakes believe they're doing it
right
as
thing.
A good person and doing the right thing. And that's scary. That is scary.
Yep. And then number 19, timing of judicial bias, prejudice, and lack of impartiality is the last one. Yeah, that's it. And then there was, which I'm not going to read through at all because this is going on forever and ever. But then McClelland filed this verified information of contemptuous conduct. And he basically cites throughout this and tries to prove that Baldwin and Rossi violated the gag order. And what's interesting here is that the dates he cites, like the hearing on November 22nd was to resolve preliminary matters. And this is when basically Baldwin and Rossi said, we're not going to talk to the media about this case, so there's no need for a gag order. And then December 1st is when Baldwin and Rossi put out that press release that Judge Gull had a major issue with and was one of her reasons for saying they were grossly negligent, because they put out information out there that shouldn't be about the case. And I mean, if you read the press release, I don't agree with that at all. It doesn't seem like there's anything highly confidential in there. Well, the actual gag order wasn't put into place until like later in December. So they didn't violate the gag order at all.
Yeah, then I wonder what they're going to try and say it was then.
Well, they then go to the leak. The leak of crime scene photos, and the memorandum. They talk about the memorandum too. That's what they're really leaning on, honestly, is the memorandum and the leak as violating the gag order. I mean, the memorandum was intentional, but is that a violation of the gag order?
I don't
It's
know.
an official court document.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I mean, all we can do is see. I don't know. This is unprecedented. Like, I have no
It's out
clue.
of the ordinary entirely. It really is.
It's not like I have any background information and knowledge into these things. I don't know because I've never seen this before.
Yeah. I haven't either. But I feel like it's a tick for tat with McClelland on this. On why did he have to do that?
Yeah, he's literally sticking up for the judge that is creating more of a bias.
Yeah, he should be against her.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a prosecutor, if you have a judge being that biased, like that doesn't look good for you. Why are you sticking up for her?
Yep, you're
making yourself look worse.
Yep, I get it. And I just wonder if they're playing into the appeal, right? And you know, hoping something happens from the original conviction to the appeal. I don't know. It's tin hat land, but all of this is tin hat land. So it's really hard to give a well-rounded opinion in this because it is so absurd and so outside of what we would consider normal inside of a US or a state court system. It just blows me away.
Yeah,
it's hard to talk about
It
because
is-
it's so absurd.
yeah, the absurdity of it is hard to swallow and digest. Like the fact that you have this man who is clearly in distress, being held in a prison without a conviction, and you have a judge doing this, literally taking public information and removing it against the law, being incredibly biased, and that connection, like that personal connection to the victims in that Facebook post is interesting to me, that it's her family and those little girls like in that championship. I don't know. It's interesting. I think there's a ton of evidence for her being biased, and I'm really curious how this is going to end up turning out. Hopefully better. Hopefully something happens where this can become less of a circus and they can get a new judge on the case and actually move forward, and we can focus on the victims and getting justice and getting to the bottom of what's going on in this case. Because right now, nobody can. But I want to know what you guys think about it all. Please leave your opinions and thoughts in the comments. We can try to make sense of this together, maybe.
Let us know.